Mr. Warfield, if you could let us know what topic it is you'll be talking about so we can get in the proper place.
I was just going to talk in general. I wasn't going to talk about a particular item.
Okay, public comment then. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call this meeting of July 7th to order. Can you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Muy buenas tardes. Tenemos los aparatos disponibles para la interpretación en español. Creo que casi todos ustedes ya los tienen. Si no tienen, allá están atrás por estas puertas dobles. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. We have headsets for the hearing impaired. If you need one, please let us know. Introductions, proclamations, presentations, or recognitions. Dr. Cash?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. That is the midpoint in our summer schools. We do have a couple of elementary programs that will start later this summer. We've had great attendance and a lot of interest, and our students are doing great. We're also in the midst of our two bridge programs for our peak program. One at La Cumbre Junior High School is ending, and one at Santa Barbara High School, our new East Side one, is also taking place this summer with some great activities for kids and getting started for their high school experiences. With that, that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Cash. Any questions? Okay. Board comments, correspondence? I'll make one comment just to get it on public record is four of us did take a field trip along with Dr. Cash and Mr. Paul Cronshaw and had the privilege of going up and seeing our property on Happy Canyon. It was a beautiful day. The 120 acres up there that the school district owns is beautiful. I can assure the public that we talked about our kids, our families, politics a little bit, and but made sure we didn't discuss Happy Canyon, which is interesting. So I'm hoping in the future we will have it on the calendar to discuss it as a conference item because it's a beautiful property. School district has owned it for 80 years, 70 years?
50 years.
50 years. And we did, I should say, we also picked up 2 boxes of trash. So we did our duty up there. But it's a beautiful piece of property, and it was a nice field trip. And thanks to our camper, Miss Idelson, we had soft drinks, candy, cookies, grapes, everything we needed for a field trip. So she's used to that. Okay. Announcements of closed session action. We will have the discipline case B1 a little bit later on the agenda. The Casey, we did have one motion, and you're going to have to remind me who made it.
It's moved by Idelson, seconded by Parker.
Motion by Idelson, seconded by Parker, to approve the waiver for case number 051415-003-0284, and it passed unanimously. We had a good, the third item on the agenda was a evaluation for the superintendent, and it was basically, the school year's over. We had a chance just to talk about the previous school year and just see where we're going, what direction we're going, and got a chance to talk with each other about it. And Dr. Cash, we're very pleased with the direction of the district, that's for sure. And I'll talk with you more about some of the comments later. But it's just something very normal that we did. Public comments.
There are a number of speakers this evening. So what I'll do is I will first announce the first speaker, and then I will announce the person that follows. You have 3 minutes. I will give you a warning at 30 seconds.
Dr. Paz, how many are there?
I think 1,
Because if there's 10, we'll limit it to 2 minutes.
4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11.
Yeah, I will limit you to 2 minutes. I hope you can do that. We'd like to keep this to 20 minutes if we can. Go ahead.
The first speaker is Mr. Ken Warfield, followed by Andrew Cho.
Hi, my name is Ken Warfield, and I'm the fortunate parent responsible for 4 or 5 kids, depending on you count them, and all but one got a tremendous amount of utility, education, moral fortitude, and all of the good things that you could get at a public high school in Dos Pueblos High. And I'm here to talk about what it is that makes students successful in school, and I think as a parent who's done it, 90% of the success of a student in school comes from their parents, or comes through their parents, through the kid. And I think that we don't want to lose sight of that. And one of the most important things you want to do with, especially kids that are learning English, one of ours was, you want to make sure that the parents are involved in the process, the curriculum, the pedagogy, the whole system of the school in question. And it's essentially English learners, they learn to navigate the schools in general, but specifically they need to know what is the curriculum, what is the student expected to do, how does the student do it, how do we support the student doing it, how we make sure it happens for the kid. Kids need that. Kids crave that. And as a school board, I think it's very, very important for you to engage and involve those parents at every step in the way. Sure, you can do it 4 years ago or 2 years ago and think, yeah, well, I've done it. But it has to be an ongoing process with the parents constantly. And I know in Dos
You have
Pueblos...
20 seconds.
Thanks. I know in Dos Pueblos we have somebody that's there to just make sure that happens, but not all schools have that. And I think as a district, it's important to involve the parents in the process of determining what the projects and the programs are going to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Andrew Cho, followed by Craig Prater.
Hello, my name is Andrew Cho, and I'm a senior at Dos Pueblos in the Dos Pueblos Engineering Academy. As a part of the DPEA community, I can truly say that we love this academy, and have been very excited to finally participate in the senior robotics program. Recently, however, the robotics program was abruptly canceled without explanation. The students, parents, and mentors in the program are incredibly upset and disappointed by both the decisions and the lack of reasoning provided for it. We have made our concerns clear to both the program director, Mr. Shire, and the Dos Pueblos principal, Ms. Carey. There are a large group of students, over half of the Dos Pueblos senior class, that signed a petition asking for the decision to be revisited and reversed. As of now, the DPEA administration has not been responsive to our requests. For that reason, we have organized a number of people who are affected by this decision who will each speak to you about their concerns. Craig is a DPEA parent and mentor who will speak about his perspective as a mentor. Kenyon is a DPEA student who will talk about the effect of robotics on the local community, including the elementary schools, junior highs, and the general public. Chloe is a DPEA student who will be discussing and the preparation that hundreds of students have undergone to get robotics for the senior year capstone project, and the front loading the schedules have done in the first 3 years of high school or taken internships over the summer. Casey is a DPA student who will speak about the effect of students' changes of classes that are currently in the program, specifically scheduling problems and the inability to participate in other
20
activities.
seconds.
Thank you. Callie Zhang is a student who will address the sacrifices the students have made in enrolling in robotics. John is a DPA student who will express his viewpoint and the rationale put forth the DPA leadership. Spencer and Alex are recent graduates of the DPA senior and will talk about their experience. Tom Anhalt is a DPA parent and mentor who will be expressing his perspective of the situation. And Amy will conclude and summarize the statements and describe our request of the reinstatement of this program.
Thank you.
I just want to remind the speakers that you have 2 minutes, and when you are going over, you're actually bouncing the next person. We're trying to keep our agenda to 20
So I just want to
minutes.
mention that a lot of students invested a lot of time with the rules that were published of the 3-minute time limit, and so you're asking them to contract their speeches on the fly, which is a challenge. So if
It
you
is a
can
challenge,
accommodate-
but you have 2 minutes,
Okay.
once again.
So I'm Craig Prater. Many of you know my wife. She's Yvonne DeGraw, the president of the Goleta School Board. Our son is a student in the Dos Pueblos Engineering Academy. I'm the CTO at Anisys Instruments, and we've employed many DPA students as summer interns, and I've also helped the last couple of years as a mentor. First of all, let me say that Yvonne and I hold Amir Abu Shair, the director, in the highest regard. His vision galvanized the community to build an incredible learning facility, resulting in life-changing experiences for hundreds of students. And for many years, this robotics program has been the capstone experience for these students, allowing them to compete in regional and international competitions. As was mentioned, this program has been suddenly canceled. No explanation has been given for this. The mentors, like myself, are baffled, parents are angry, and the students, quite frankly, feel betrayed. Dozens are reevaluating whether they want to remain in the program. We don't believe this decision was made appropriately. We think it ignores the commitments that were made to the students when they entered the academy, and as was mentioned, it provides challenges to their schedules that are really untenable at this late date. So the DPA supporters here would like to respectfully insist on the following. First, we'd like the DPA should give careful consideration to reversing the decision to end robotics, at least for students who are currently enrolled in the program.
30 seconds.
And then if the DPA does not see a path to reverse these decisions, they should clearly communicate real-world constraints that led to the decision, and they should enlist the community to help overcome these constraints. And then finally, if they can't reverse the decision, they should look for an alternative to provide a real alternative robotics experience for the students who are expecting it. Thank you.
Kenyon Prater, followed by Chloe Glickbarg.
All right, thank you. My name is Kenyon Prater. This fall, I will be a junior in the Dos Pueblos Engineering Academy. I've followed Team 1717 since I was in 4th grade, and I've always dreamed of being on that team. But today, I don't want to talk about my own experiences. I want to talk about the experiences of people I've met in this community. So for the past several years, I've mentored a STEM-focused after-school program at my elementary school. After hearing I was a student at after hearing as a student at Dos Pueblos, the first question those students asked me was, "Are you in the robotics team? Are you going to be there?" And up until now, I've always been able to tell them that I was, and that if they worked hard, they could be too. Team 1717 has practically achieved like a legendary status to these kids. They even look like a squadron of superheroes dressed in these black flight suits with penguins emblazoned on the front. Thanks to the support of the Team 1717, many of these elementary schools have actually started robotics programs on their own with the first Lego League challenge. So robotics is also not only famed among students, but also among the professional community. Almost every time I meet an engineer or a scientist, they ask me the same question. They ask, "Are you in the robotics program?" And it's important to note their exact words, robotics. They don't say the DPEA or the Engineering Academy because they are interested in the robotics part. And up until now, I've always been able to answer that, yes, I was in the robotics program, and I am in the robotics program. But now I don't know if I can. So also, we're known nationwide. I've been noticed by my Dos Pueblos t-shirt when I go to competitions in other states and other cities,
30
and
seconds.
asked if I was a member of Team 1717. We are nationally famous for this. Across the entire community, the name Team 1717 is powerful. It's encouraged students to pursue science and engineering like no other program I've seen in all of my education anywhere. It represents incredible devotion, and we, as the DPEA students, would like to request that we are able to continue that devotion and represent the best face of science and engineering to the community. Thank you.
A great job, and I'm sorry we had to rush you so, but you did fantastic. So
Yes.
good for you.
Chloe Glickbarg, followed by Casey Egger.
Hi, I'm Chloe Glickbarg, a junior in the Dos Pueblos Engineering Academy. I first heard of the DPEA back when I was in 6th grade. At the time, I didn't know much about high school or life even, but what I knew is that I wanted to be on Team 1717. When talking to other DPEA students, it's evident that I'm not the only one who feels this way. Because of my far-off dream of competing in FRC, I worked hard in junior high, putting extra effort into my classes so that when it came time for me to apply to the DPEA, I would have a stronger chance of getting in. And this was 7th grade, and this was also when I began preparing for robotics. Later, when I received my letter of acceptance, one of the first things I was told by the DPEA was to front-load classes to allow time for robotics senior year. Beginning as early as the summer before 9th grade, students started taking classes in order to better prepare themselves for the engineering academy and specifically robotics. Whether this meant taking health over the summer at San Marcos or taking a more advanced computer programming course at Santa Barbara City College or UCSB, students sacrificed their free time for Team 1717. Students gave up jobs, vacations, family time, and even sports in order to be as successful as possible during the robotics season. We were willing to do this because we knew it would all be worth it once we were seniors in the robotics program. In fact, at one point, there was an entire health class at San Marcos over the summer solely for DPEA students because we had all been encouraged by the academy to front load. Additionally, many students choose to intern at local engineering firms in Goleta, also to prepare for competing on Team 1717.
30 seconds.
High-achieving students have a lot of options over the summer, but incoming DPEA seniors often forgo other opportunities to gain skills to improve the robotics experience. For instance, 2 of the lead programmers last year devoted their summer to learning specific skills needed for the robotics team. I ask that the board reconsider the decision and honor the promise of having a robotics season, which was made to the 4 grades currently enrolled. Thank you.
Casey Egger, followed by Kaylee Zhang.
Sorry. Yeah. Hi, my name is Casey Egger, and I'm an incoming senior in the Dos Pueblos Engineering Academy. With the cancellation of robotics, a new curriculum and class schedule has been implemented for the Mechatronics Senior Capstone Project. In the past, the robotics program was offered for 2 mandatory classes, one in the morning and one at night. Because of this unique setup, students had room in their daytime schedule to pursue additional opportunities, such as a sport or another class they found interesting, like art or music. However, with the new curriculum, students must take 3 periods during the day, filling up half of their 6-period schedule with only mechatronics classes. This leaves little room to fulfill any classes required to graduate high school, including health, government, economics, and English. Since this decision was made on such short notice, numerous seniors have been left scrambling to fix their schedules with only 2 months before the school starts, causing an unnecessary amount of stress right before college applications. Furthermore, multiple students are considering dropping out of the program because they must complete their high school A through G requirements. There's simply no room in many students' schedules for them to be a part of the Mechatronics Senior Capstone Project while still pursuing other extracurricular activities in addition to their high school diploma. This transition is particularly rough for students who play sports, which is roughly 50% of the DP population. With this sudden unavailability of the sixth period during the school year, athletes can no longer attend practices or compete in games. Personally, I'm on the varsity tennis team, so I must practice every day with the team from the start of 6th period to late afternoon for multiple months. By restricting the courses offered to seniors, students such as myself are forced to choose between a DPA student or a DPA athlete. A friend of mine has more frustrating circumstances. She's on varsity softball and in the DP leadership class. Since freshman year, she's wanted to enroll in AP Environmental Science, but was unable to for the past 3 years, partly due to conflicts of scheduling with engineering. With the new curriculum, 5 of her 6 periods are filled up with mechatronics, leadership, and softball. This leaves her with only 1 period to take English, economics, and AP Environmental Science, 2 of which are requirements to graduate high school.
30 seconds.
We're not the only ones facing difficulties with scheduling, but we are 2 of the many that must deal with this situation. Originally, the plan was for robotics to continue for another few years, so the curriculum and procedure is already set up. Therefore, we are asking for last year's curriculum that was available to seniors last year to be reinstated, allowing students to finish the 4-year program and graduate high school. Thank you.
Kaylee Zhang, followed by John Grossen.
Hi, my name is Callie Zhang, and I will be a senior in the Dos Pueblos engineering program. Many engineering academy students have made sacrifices over the past few years to be in robotics. As incoming freshmen, students chose to go to Dos Pueblos instead of other high schools because of robotics. Students declined offers from private schools such as Kate and Thatcher, and students turned down the Apple program at San Marcos because they thought they would have a chance to be in robotics their senior year. Students even chose to commute from as far as Lompoc to be a part of the robotics program. Now, over the next 3 years, students specially arranged their class schedules. They took summer classes, they took night classes, they took online classes. We have even dedicated our Monday nights to business teams, and some of us even TA'd in our free periods instead of studying for rigorous class schedules. We have arranged our education, our minds, and our lives one by one because of robotics. My main question now is, why was this decision made without the input of any of the students who have made sacrifices for the program? To our knowledge, there were no alumni, no mentors, no students, neither underclassmen nor upperclassmen present at the making of this decision. None of these people were given a chance to express their opinions. I hope you don't see this decision as set in stone and that you'll consider reversing it. Thank you for giving me a chance to express my thoughts.
John Grossen, followed by Spencer Mulanley, I think. Probably pronounced that wrong, so I apologize.
Hi, I'm John Grossen, and I'm going to be a senior at Dos Pueblos High School. For the last 3 years, I've devoted my heart and soul to the Engineering Academy. I spent over 100 volunteer hours installing and maintaining the computer infrastructure, and I've written apps that are used in the current curriculum. This past school year, I spent 1 period a day working on the mechatronics project in addition to my regular engineering period, so I have an inside view of what mechatronics is like. I consider myself a very strong supporter of the DPEA. However, in eliminating the robotics program, I believe the administration has made such a misstep that I must speak out, not only out of concern for my own future, but for the future of this beloved institution as well. The heart of the DPEA's public rationale for this decision is that the mechatronics project offers students a substantially more enriching educational experience over that of FIRST Robotics. I believe this assessment to be incorrect. Instead, the 2 distinct programs each fulfill distinct but equally desirable educational goals. During the first 3 years of the Engineering Academy experience, the curriculum gives students the opportunity to explore the various engineering areas in a manner that is controlled by the teachers and provides a good introduction to these subjects. But by senior year, many students have identified one area in particular that they love, whether it's CAD, machining, or programming. And it's this specialization that allows a single project to be as complex and awe-inspiring as the robot Team 1717 has put together every year. Additionally, the external constraints provide a similar experience to that of many real-world projects, like executing a DARPA contract. And it's precisely these challenging constraints that develop such intense spirit and camaraderie in Team 1717. And this isn't to say that mechatronics isn't great as well. However, having a choice is fantastic and provides good opportunities for all kinds of students. Because of the unique opportunities provided by robotics, I ask that the Engineering Academy reconsider its decision.
Tom Alt is follows Spencer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hey guys, I'm Spencer Molinix. I'm an alumni of the program. I actually participated in the robotics program last year, so I do have some firsthand experience in the robotics program. I'd like to say, first off, it's kind of insulting that in the letter that they sent out announcing the end of robotics, that they said mechatronics is a better educational experience than robotics, because although I do not have any experience with the mechatronics project, I spent legitimately around over 90 hours a week sometimes in the robotics room, just straight up working nonstop, sometimes losing sleep, sometimes missing classes just because I slept through my alarm when I went home. I truly love this program. I've spent time not only for robotics but also mentoring younger students in the program, and I truly believe that robotics isn't a bad thing. And as John said earlier, the choice is so much more important than just having one program, because robotics is hard. I'm not going to lie. Robotics is a lot of time commitment and a lot of just mental exhaustion. But at the end of it, you feel so accomplished that you kind of forget it all. You kind of forget all the bad times. You kind of forget all the times where you just wanted to go to sleep. And you just remember just working nonstop, laughing with friends at the same time. And then you just kind of forget the bad times. So I'd just like to say that please bring robotics back, or at least talk to the Shires and ask for the reason why it's been stopped. And thank you.
Tom Anhalt, followed by Amy Dixon.
Hi, I'm Tom Anhalt. I'm a parent of 2 children in the DPA program, one of which is soon to be a senior. I've also volunteered many hours over the last 2 years as a mechanical engineering mentor with the robotics team, which has given me a somewhat unique perspective on how the students in the current classes experience the robotics capstone project as compared to the previous years. Aside from believing in expanding the STEM experience to kids, part of my motivation for volunteering to mentor was to gain experience on how to be an effective mentor, leading up to the opportunity to share the robotics experience with my own child. One of the things I'm truly disappointed with in this decision is the elimination of the once-per-week evening meetings, which effectively eliminates my participation as a mentor in the next year during my own son's participation. My work schedule won't allow me to participate during the workday. Additionally, those evening meetings with their team meals is a key bonding and team-building activity that will be missed by students going forward. Of course, the largest issue with what is occurring is because of the timing of the switch. To pull this type of change on this group of students is too late, too much, and in short, just plainly wrong. To pull this, as you've already heard from the students themselves, it pays little respect to the sacrifices they and their families have made in the last 3 years to help ensure they get the most out of an activity that was used to initially draw them into the program and was held as a figurative carrot all along. To put that aside with zero warning requires extremely extenuating circumstances, and to be honest, we haven't seen those. The letter sent to us did very little to truly explain why, which just leaves us wondering what the true reasons are.
30 seconds.
In my observation, and remember this is based on the participation in the last 2 capstone projects, the 2014-15 robotics team did more with less on a significantly more complicated game than previous robotics teams. Yeah, there was hardship. By the end of the season, the robot was easily on par with the product of so-called power teams in FRC. The opinion of some was that this team would struggle, but in the end, they had one of the most successful competition seasons in the team history. It was all because of the training they had. Despite being assigned to teams and tasks, each of them had skills.
Go ahead. How much more time do you need?
Okay.
10 seconds?
20.
Okay.
That is something the previous teams didn't have the skills to do. I can give many examples of the kids organizing themselves into groups to accomplish tasks that needed to be done by anyone available, and they did it on their own. It was inspiring to see. The students who were recruited into this program using robotics deserve their chance to excel in the same manner on this project and learn valuable life lessons about real-world type projects.
Thank you.
Amy Dixon, followed by Skona Britton.
Thank you for listening to our concerns. We had a lot of points that we wanted to voice, and we wanted to express our opinions. And we hope that you take these into consideration. My name is Amy Dixon, and I'm another incoming senior. And on this last note, I just want to talk about how the DPEA has always been considered a community. In a community, decisions should be made with the input of all of the members. Unfortunately, there was a major lack in communication about the retirement of robotics. Despite the fact that this may very well affect the students the most, we had no say in this decision. The students and families were not aware until the decision was already made. We feel that there should have been student representation when this was proposed, because this directly affects us. We hope that you will consider helping us get back this wonderful program that was promised to us back when we were 8th graders. This program not only holds a national reputation, but is also an important part to the Dos Pueblos, Goleta, Santa Barbara, and other communities. The decision to drop it has changed and affected our academic careers, as well as putting to waste any planning and sacrifices we have given for robotics. Our goal is to reverse this sudden change and get engineering to bring the robotics program back, at least for the current DPEA students who were promised a robot when they applied. I hope you consider supporting us when we ask to reinstate robotics and help persuade the Engineering Academy to uphold the promise they made to us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Skana Britton. I'm not part of this organized effort. I just came here. I'm a supporter of the Academy, but my kids did not go to it. My daughters considered it too geeky, although they're software engineers now. So my only connection to it is as a supporter, a financial supporter. I've contributed to it because I've seen what beneficial effects it's had on my students. What I do professionally is mathematics enrichment. I have a private math enrichment program. Most of my students are in the Dos Pueblos Engineering Academy. The only effect it's had on me personally is deleterious. It's my students fall asleep for 6 weeks, or they skip practices. So it competes with what I'm doing. But I don't resent that at all because it's a fabulous program, and I've seen so much benefit to these kids over the years. Some of them are in graduate school now. I have a lot of respect for Amir starting the program and everything he's done, and it may be that there are pedagogical advantages to the alternatives. However, the only thing he mentioned in the letter about students being too specialized, that is so real-world engineering. I mean, it's so real-world for them. It's a great experience. And if indeed it turns out that the other program is better, then phase it out gradually. Give the current DPEA students the chance to do robotics.
30 seconds.
And the junior high students can choose to apply based on the new thing, but don't change it for the kids who have structured their lives around it. So I suggest phasing it out if anything. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for your remarks and the fact that you were able to shorten them. I'll just make a couple comments. I think everybody up here loves robotics. I mean, that's not an issue. We don't know anything about the decision particularly. This is not an agenda item. This is obviously a one-sided discussion at this point, but I'm sure that Dr. Cash and Dr. Drati will be more aware of it and talk to the powers that be. It's not a decision that we typically would get involved with as far as classes at the various high schools. And because of the fact that it's not on the agenda, we really can't talk about it. We can't give responses to you, although all of us would love to, I'm sure, get involved in a discussion, but that's just not the way the Brown Act lets us operate. I do want to make one comment on the original talk about, well, we followed the rules. We prepared for 3 minutes. I'd like to read the rule just so you have the entire rule. Individual speakers are generally allowed 3 minutes to address the board. That's the main rule. However, the time may be reduced by the board president. And it goes on to say the total time allowed for public comment on any one item is 20 minutes. The times may be altered depending upon the number of speakers, and that's what we did. So we played by the rules. Just want to make sure that that comment gets out there, because we try to be as nice as we can to anybody who wants to talk to this body, and we pride ourselves on being open to the communication. Okay?
Can I just for a moment for mechatronics?
You didn't have a speaker slip? No. Board?
I just
do you want
wanted
them
to ask a clarifying question. Since this board did not make this decision, it had nothing to do with this decision, Dr. Cash, do you have suggestions on how concerned folks should redirect their comments, or how they can move forward?
Well, I don't know if there is moving forward. They can continue to talk to Ms. Carey and Mr. Shire, and I haven't spoken to Mr. Shire since he had, my understanding, a large meeting with parents and students. I haven't spoken to him since that meeting, and that would be the first suggestion. I wrote down a number of questions that I have that were made by students that I'm going to direct to Ms. Carey and Mr. Shire, and when I get those answers, I'll forward those on to the board.
Thank you, Dr. Cash.
Okay. We will now go on to the item DA, acceptance of donations.
I'd like to move to accept donations for July 7th, 2015 with gratitude.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. On the consent calendar, any items to be removed?
I'd like to pull E2.
E2. I was going to comment on that before you made that decision, because we put it on here knowing full well that the last two times this has been voted on, it's been a 3-2 vote. And we thought there might be discussion, but we thought we'd let you pull it if you wanted to talk about it. Thank you. This is one of those things that, I'll just make a comment, we've approved it in the LCAP. So it's a question that I had at the LCAP, is how many of the things in the LCAP will ever come back to us again? And this became one of the first ones, because the comment is, hey, we've approved it already. But yet, obviously, it's something I think we want to talk about, possibly. Okay, any others to pull? Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve the remainder of the consent agenda minus item E2.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously, and I think Dr. Cash has an announcement.
I do. With that vote, the board has just appointed Mr. Brian Rouse as our new Director of Information Technology Services, and he's here this evening, and we want to congratulate Brian on his appointment, and we look forward to having him be part of our management team. And we know he's going to do a great job, because he's already been doing a great job for us. He's an alumni of our school district, and we're all excited about having Brian working more closely with us for the remainder of this year and hopefully many, many years to come. So congratulations and welcome Brian to the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to do something unusual, and the board, you can tell me if you think I shouldn't do it. I would like to have E2 talked about now. We have an audience. If we wait till the end of the session, we'll have nobody in the audience. And I think it's a conversation that the public should be aware of. So if I have no objection, we'll go to E2, approval of renewal of service agreement from Interquest Detection Canines for the 2015-16 school year.
Would you like me to introduce the item?
Introduce the item?
I'm
Yes.
sorry. This would be the third year of having the canine drug detection dogs on our high school campuses. They have worked in tandem with our school administration for the past 3 years, and they're back on not as a way in which we're going to stop students from using drugs, period, but we're hopefully preventing more students from bringing drugs and alcohol on our campuses. And based upon the results of the detection that appears to be working.
Ms. Limon?
So I pulled the item. I would probably disagree. I think that for me, I've been consistent over the 3 years of not feeling like this is one of the tools that I'm most supportive. I think the results show numbers, but it's not clear that it's as a consequence to the drug detections. I think proving correlation and causality are not the exact same thing. So I am not in support of this, and that's where I stand.
Dr. Paz?
Yeah, I just want to also say that echo the same comments I've said over the last 2 years. I don't want to repeat them, but you just want to make sure that we're clear with the public too, that I think without a shred of doubt, we're all supportive of making sure kids are safe in our schools, and I think that's the number one duty that we have as board members, is to make sure that happens. And we just have disagreements about how to achieve that. And I think in this particular case, my fellow board member, Ms. Limon, and myself fall on the side of thinking that this is not necessarily the most appropriate use of money when you don't have clear evidence that this is an effective strategy. And I'll leave it at that.
Ms. Idelson?
And I remain in support of it because I feel it takes some of the pressure off the teachers. It's another tool towards enforcement, and I think on campus, the more of an environment that we maintain that says, you know, these substances don't belong on our campuses, and there can be a random check of that, I think is a sense of security for the kids that want the campus to remain drug-free, substance-free of these things. Thank you.
Ms. Parker?
I know that our high school principals feel that it's a useful tool, which is why I end up supporting it, because the feedback that I've gotten from them, that we've all gotten from them, is it's something that's made a difference in terms of keeping drugs at least off campus, or helping to keep drugs off campus. And I just wanted a quick reminder on the cost, since that is in the item but not something that we have up on the screen. What is the cost?
$13,500 per year.
Okay, thank you. And I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the renewal of services agreement for InterQuest detection canines for the 15-16 school year.
I'll second it.
Under discussion, I'll just comment, I've been in favor of from day one. I think it sends a message. I think our kids deserve drug-free campuses. I've always said, if the dogs find nothing, I'm okay with that. I think it's money well spent. If the dogs don't find any drugs, but I have to say they do find them, but even if they didn't, the message we send is keep drugs out of the campus. Kids have a right to have an education without having drugs pushed on them, sold to them, urged to take them, peer pressure. It's just good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. No.
Motion passes 3-2.
With
Paz and
thank you.
Paz and Limon, the noes. Okay. Thank you for indulging me in that. I appreciate it. Under item F, we have no public hearing. We will now go to the action item, board action on Student Discipline Education Code in case number 201415-44. Do I have a motion?
In case 201415-44, I move to approve the Administrative Hearing Panel's recommendation for a suspended expulsion for 1 school year.
I'll second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. G2, update on Lacumba Junior High School Gateway Project and approval of the final scope for the project. There's a couple additions to the agenda that were on our table. I presume they're in the back of the room also.
Yes, they are. And I would ask, looks like we have members of the Lacumba Foundation. I wondered why Paul was here. Congrats, that's great. And Mr. Hetyunk will introduce the item.
Thank you, Dr. Cash and board members. Once again, it's always exciting to see projects come forth due to the generosity of fundraising and donors in this community. It never ceases to amaze me, the things we get to do through that effort. The Lacumba Gateway Project came before the board, and the board approved a plan for the project and a fundraising plan. And tonight we're here to update you on both of those, an update on the fundraising and an update on the project itself, some minor changes in scope that The architect will go over, Andy Rotman and Paul Didier, and so I will turn it over to them, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
We're here because of these minor changes. The first was dealing with the low fence. Well, actually, when you saw it, it was actually a San Marcos High School fence along Modoc. And when we presented that to you, actually, I should go back. Why? I don't know why we ever had the fence in there. It was when Cliff from the foundation talked to me, he was concerned about the fact that students would be skateboarding and other activities down the hillside and ruining the new landscaping going in. After meeting with Joanne, she said, I don't want that fence that tall because we can't see what's going on Modoc. The school is lower than the sidewalk, and we can't have something high. So we looked at various options to change that fence and decided that it shouldn't be any taller than 42 inches tall, and it became a strand of wire at 12 inches on center, basically a barrier to stop people from trying to go through it. And we looked at that, and I had actually proposed a hedge instead, and they didn't want that because they were afraid it was going to not be maintained, and it would, again, block their view of what was taking place along the sidewalk and them losing control of what was happening around their campus. So as we kept on going along this line, it basically became kind of a nightmare because of the regulations for trying to create this fence and the cost. Believe it or not, the San Marcos fence was going to be cheaper than the fence that we were trying to put in, dealing with engineering issues. Looking at it afterwards, we also found out that we were putting in a mow strip at the bottom of the slope. So anyone deciding to try and skateboard down there was going to hit a concrete barrier at the very bottom. In addition to that, it wasn't going to be grass where they currently were going over it. It's now going to be bark and everything else. So we're coming back before, Mr. Hedjonk suggested that we come back to you because that was a major change from what we presented to you. So we're removing that from the project. Also, we have to modify the project slightly in that we cannot install the new grass, the new sod, and the patching of the grass to the west of the Gateway project that we were going to do to just help beautify the front because of the current drought and the fact that the reclaimed water is still offline. So currently the school district has decided that they can't water that, so we're not removing what we were planning on doing, we just want to delay it. And then the third thing that we're bringing before you is, before we just kind of had a picture of a kiosk and you didn't really see it, and I believe you have before you pictures of the kiosk and the marquee, which have been further defined in working with Santa Barbara Iron and Forge, which is a local Santa Barbara company. So that's basically what we're here before you today.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be able to say to all of you that Andy has been a superb volunteer. He's been very generous in donating his services to bring this about. As a board, I'm the board chair for La Cumbre Junior High School Foundation, and we're excited about the project. We've raised enough money to proceed. It just so happens with the project without the fence piece and without the concrete revetment at the bottom, we'll be able to have a large meeting area with outside the theater with a kiosk, a much wider walkway from that beautiful new parking lot with lighting all along the way, so it's safe, it's conducive for all kinds of uses of that performing arts center and that theater. So we're excited to move forward with it. We have a couple of approved contractors that are interested in working with us to make it all happen according to all of the rules and codes required. So we think that we're in a good place. you have to understand, when we first took this on and we started meeting with Joanne Keynes, the principal, the fence was such a tiny, small part of this. You know how you get started in a project and you go, oh, the fence. Oh, we'll just put some little galvanized wire through there and it just won't be expensive, because after all, there's no fence there now, literally, to speak of. And so that's how we got into the fence. And then we found out later it's not a requirement by the district, it's not a requirement by the city, it's not a requirement at all. And so that amount of money that we save for not doing the fence means that we actually have enough to actually do the project and get started on it this year. So we hope that we can get started on it.
Questions?
It looks beautiful, and I'm sorry that the fence ended up being such a nightmare, because the rest of it looks great. So I applaud the progress, and I'm excited that you're ready so fast to get going on it. I kind of anticipated this dragging out many more months, if not years, so I'm thrilled. One question I have on the landscaping is, will the rest of it go in? Is it just the turf that's being held up?
Yes, the turf is water intensive, and since the school district is on reclaimed water, it doesn't affect the drought, except for the reclaimed plant is currently offline. Until the city of Santa Barbara fixes it, everybody that's had this reclaimed water has been using regular water. The rest of the planting, which actually is it's the same landscape architect that did the parking lot, so the whole
That's great.
The whole thing is unified. That included that we also had meetings with the school district so that the lighting that we're putting in is going to be the same lighting that's in the parking lot. So it's not going to be one design here and another design there. It's all going to be unified. And so the landscaping that you see there, except for the stuff in the lawn area, is all going to be installed as part of the original project, because it's all drought tolerant, meets all those requirements, and on drip irrigation.
So when would this actually, I guess, go out to bid in terms of getting started?
Now that we have, well, provided you give us approval tonight, that means that I can finish up in the next couple of weeks the working drawings and get it out to DSA, and it'll be basically it's depending on the DSA coming back to us.
Don't say that.
But actually, it's actually funny, your one comment that you thought that we were faster. We felt that we were slow. So I'm glad that you feel differently.
Board members, DSA will need to review this for accessibility because we are modifying the path of travel. So luckily, we don't have to go for fire, life safety, and structural, but we do have to go before the ADA portion for that approval. And hopefully that can be done in a quick manner. And then, of course, the earliest this could come back to you if we do get out of DSA and are able to bid it would be August 11th, but we plan on bringing it back as soon as possible, if you approve it tonight.
Thank you. I have to say, when I went to your Fun and Sun event, I walked up to the front, I said, I wonder when they're going to do the landscaping. And then I find out you're doing it. So that's fantastic. And as a graduate of LaCumbre, I'm glad you're beautifying the building. Any motion?
Yeah, I'll go ahead to move that we approve the change in scope for the LaCumbre Junior High School Gateway Project.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously, and thank you very much.
Thank you very
Congratulations
much.
to the foundation. Great job.
We'll take that back. Thank you.
We'll go on to the conference agenda. H1, District English Learner Acquisition Committee Annual Presentation.
And we have one speaker for this item, Mr. President.
And who is that? Oh.
Do you want to have them speak first?
Yeah. Well, Dr. Cash, you want to introduce it?
Yeah, why don't we do that, unless the speaker would like to go first, and typically we'll do the presentation. Are we good with that?
Okay.
Okay. So I don't know if anyone else besides me noticed the two people sitting up here at the dais next to me on my left.
Yes.
I noticed.
Fran Wagenek, our new Assistant Superintendent for Student Services, and Dr. Raul Ramirez, our new Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education. And so they can't sit up here unless they get to work. So with that, I'll introduce Dr. Raul Ramirez, who will present this item.
Good evening, Board President, Mr. Herron. Good evening, Board. I wanted to take an opportunity to introduce who will be really conducting the presentation today. That will be our DLAC Executive Committee. But just prior to doing so, I wanted to just publicly thank, we constituted as part of our DLAC, we constituted a subcommittee that really worked diligently and poured over many, many hours of crafting, revising, recrafting, revising the recommendations that you have before you. So I wanted to just take a second to acknowledge our subcommittee, and that would be, I'll start with our co-presidents, Maribel Canales, who is one of our co-presidents, Gloria Hernandez, another one of our co-presidents, Mr. Ramiro Ruiz, our parliamentarian, Carmen Magallanes, our secretary, Olivia Carranza, who is also part of our subcommittee, Mr. Salguereña, and Mr. Mike Vale, who is not here with us, but is with us in spirit. With that, I wanted to turn it over to our DLAC Executive Committee, and they've divided the presentation amongst themselves. So here we have Mrs. Maribel Canales, who is our co-president, Gloria Hernandez, Carmen Magallanes, and I'm sorry, I failed to mention Olga Mendoza, who is also one of our very active DLAC parents and a Santa Barbara Junior High rep.
Muchas gracias, doctor Ramírez. Buenas noches. Esta presentación va a ser solamente en español. Y voy a empezar dando las gracias a todos los padres que están aquí, el público y a la mesa directiva por esta oportunidad. Una vez más, mi nombre es Maribel Canales y estoy ejerciendo mi segundo año como copresidente de este comité asesor de aprendizaje del inglés, que es mejor conocido como DLAC. Para mí es un gran honor haber sido elegida por los padres para presentar este comité.
Thank you. This presentation is going to be entirely in Spanish, so I will be interpreting and repeating what the presenters have to say. Good evening, members of the school board and parents. My name is Maribel Canales, and I am in my second year as co-chair of the District English Learner Advisory Committee, better known as DLAC. It is for me a great honor to have been chosen by the parents to represent this committee.
Como ustedes ya lo saben, el Comité Asesor de Aprendizajes de Inglés está a cargo de emitir un reporte anual a la mesa directiva. Este año, a diferencia de otros años, tuvimos la suerte de contar con el gran apoyo del Dr. Raúl Ramírez, quien tenía el cargo de puesto de director de aprendices de inglés e envolvimiento de padres, también con el gran apoyo del señor Mike Bell.
As you already know, the DLAC committee presents an annual report to the school board. This year, unlike the years before, we were lucky to have the support of Dr. Raúl Ramírez, who was the Director of English Learner Programs and Parent Involvement. We also had the great support of Mr. Mike Vale.
Para hacer esto posible, el comité de DLAC forma un subcomité de padres y miembros de la comunidad para trabajar en el desarrollo, aplicación y evaluación de los programas de alumnos aprendiendo inglés. También el subcomité se asegura que los programas que el distrito ofrece a los alumnos aprendiendo inglés cumplan con los requisitos legales, estatales y federales. Se trabajó, como dijo el doctor Ramírez, se trabajó con el subcomité por casi 3 meses y con un total de 10 reuniones, para ser los más exactos, específicos, en traer nuestras recomendaciones a ustedes.
In order to make this possible, the DLAC committee designated a subcommittee of parents and community members that worked on the development, implementation, and assessment of EL programs. This subcommittee also ensures that the programs that the district offers to EL students comply with federal and state legal requirements. The subcommittee worked for 3 months and had a total of 10 meetings in order to be as accurate and specific as possible when bringing our recommendations to you.
Ok, entonces tengo que empezar con unos antecedentes de lo que se necesita hacer en este comité. Se tiene que desarrollar un plan general de programas y servicios educativos para los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés y que se tome en consideración el plan singular para el rendimiento de los alumnos. También que se lleve a cabo una evaluación de necesidades en todo el distrito basado en las escuelas individuales, establecer un programa, metas y objetivos del distrito para programas y servicios de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés, desarrollar un plan para asegurar el cumplimiento de que todos los requisitos aplicables a los maestros y ayudantes de maestros, administrar un censo de lenguaje anual, revisar y comentar sobre el procedimiento de la reclasificación del distrito, revisión y comentarios sobre las notificaciones por escrito que se tienen que mandar a los padres y tutores.
So I'm going to start with some background. First, we need to develop a district master plan for educational programs and services for English learners that takes into consideration the single plan for student achievement. Then we need to conduct a district-wide needs assessment on a school-by-school basis. We need to establish a district program, goals and objectives for programs and services for English learners. We need to develop a plan to ensure compliance with any applicable teacher and instructional aid requirements. We need to administer an annual language census report. We need to review and comment on the school district's reclassification procedures. We need to review and comment on the written notifications required to be sent to parents and guardians.
DILAC está trabajando fuertemente para aumentar el papel de los padres de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés en los procesos de decisiones. Voy a empezar con los logros del año escolar. Los siguientes logros y recomendaciones se basan en una revisión cuidadosa de los datos de DILAC en relación a los programas de aprendizaje del inglés.
The members of DILAC have continued their effort this year to increase the role of parents of English learners in the decision-making process that affects the education of their children. The following accomplishments and recommendations are based on a careful review by the DILAC of data pertaining to English learner programs, the involvement of English learner parents, and the overall achievement of English learners in the Santa Barbara Unified School District during the 2014-2015 school year.
El primer logro que hizo el distrito fue establecer un sistema de comunicación recurrente entre la administración y el DILAC para el mejoramiento continuo de los programas para los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés. Se estableció el puesto de director de programa para los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés y para el involucramiento de padres, Ofreció un programa de capacitación profesional a los maestros de cada grado, específicamente diseñados para reformar sus nuevas funciones, establecidos por los estándares centrales comunes y estatales del desarrollo del idioma de inglés. Implementó en cada escuela un sistema para que los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés lleguen a ser elegibles y se consiga la reclasificación con el dominio completo del inglés. Hasta este momento tenemos 1,008 alumnos que están elegibles para la reclasificación. ¿Eso es correcto? Yes. Ok. Su turno.
So this year's accomplishments, first we established a recursive system of communication between the administration and the DILAC with the objective of producing continuous improvement in programs designed for English learners. We established the position of Director of English Learners and Parent Involvement Programs. We offered a professional development program to teachers in grade level, specifically designed to strengthen their new role established by the Common Core and state ELD standards as facilitators of learning for English learners. We implemented a reclassification policy for all schools that prioritize the systematic development of English language skills for English learners necessary for them to reach eligibility for reclassification. And up to this point, we have 1,008 eligible EL students eligible for reclassification.
Okay. Se adoptaron las directrices del Departamento de Educación de California y ahora se permite la reclasificación de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés en un nivel básico en los exámenes estatales para lectura. Además, ahora la política del distrito permite la reclasificación de los alumnos desde el primer grado, siempre y cuando estos cumplan con los requisitos que el distrito establece y con el apoyo de los padres y de los maestros. Se recomendó un comité compuesto por representantes de padres, maestros, administradores del distrito. Estableció un sistema interino para la reclasificación de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés utilizando los resultados del examen de lectura SRI para evitar cualquier obstrucción en el proceso de la reclasificación. También se estableció un sistema de evaluación para determinar si las escuelas están cumpliendo con las 4 funciones de ELAC. Aumentó la oportunidad para que los padres de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés permitan el proceso del desarrollo del Plan de Control Local y de Rendimiento de Cuentas, mejor conocido como LCAP, y la nueva forma de reclasificación. Mejoró la coordinación en el apoyo de acceso lingüístico para los padres que están hablando para los padres que hablan español mediante el aumento en el número de traductores profesionales. Antes era 1 y ahora son 3. Aumentó el apoyo financiero con $50,000 en fondos del título 1 para fortalecer los programas de lectura en las escuelas preescolares. Estableció en las oficinas administrativas del distrito un centro de recursos para los padres con niños de educación especial, cuyo coordinador ofrece información y talleres de capacitación a los padres del distrito. Este centro puede servir como un modelo a las escuelas del distrito. Supervisó la traducción de los planes singulares y los puso a disposición de los miembros de ELAC en todas las escuelas del distrito.
We adopted the guidelines of the California Department of Education. The new policy now allows the reclassification of EL students with ELA standardized test scores at the basic level. We changed its policy to permit the reclassification of EL students in the first grade who meet all the requirements established by district with the support of their teachers and their parents. As recommended by the committee comprised of parent representatives, teachers, and district administrators, an interim reclassification system for English learners was created using SRI results to prevent any delays in the reclassification process. We established an evaluation metric and monitoring system to determine if schools are complying with the 4 required functions of the ELAC. We increased the opportunities for parents of EL students to participate in the process of developing the LCAP and the new reclassification policy. We improved the coordination of language access support for Spanish-speaking parents through the increase in the number of translators employed by the district from 1 to 3 professional translators. We increased financial support by $50,000 in Title I funds to strengthen the reading programs in preschools. We established the Parent Resource Center with a coordinator in the district's administration building to provide trainings and informational workshops to district parents. This center could serve as a model to the schools in the district. We monitored the translation of the single plans and made them available to the ELAC members at all the schools in the district.
Tenemos otros 2 logros que son, se administró el sistema de disciplina, el enfoque restaurador en todas las escuelas secundarias y preparatorias. También se organizó la ceremonia y la celebración del reconocimiento a los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés con mucho éxito. Esta ceremonia tuvo más de 200 personas, incluyendo estudiantes, padres y administradores de todas las escuelas del distrito.
We had two more accomplishments. We implemented the restorative approach discipline system in all secondary schools, and the district will implement restorative approaches in 2 elementary schools in the coming year. And we successfully organized an all-ELAC celebration and EL awards ceremony attended by more than 200 students, parents, and administrators from all the schools in the district.
Puedo imaginar y que ustedes tienen este paquete en inglés que tal vez lo pueden leer, pero quiero decirles que las siguientes recomendaciones de DILAC están organizadas en 3 componentes. Las primeras son recomendaciones hechas por el DILA en años anteriores que se han realizado parcialmente por el distrito y que ameritan un estrecho seguimiento a medida que sean implementadas plenamente. Estas son las recomendaciones en curso. Las siguientes recomendaciones también son hechas por DILAC en años anteriores que aún tienen que ser implementadas por el distrito. Quiere decir que no se han realizado, no han hecho nada, entonces aún por realizar. Y la última es las nuevas recomendaciones del DILAC para el programa de mejoramiento, que son recomendaciones nuevas.
I know you have this packet with you, so you can read it on your own time, but I want to say that the following DILAC recommendations are organized into 3 components. DILAC recommendations from previous years that have been partially implemented by the district and that merit close monitoring as they are being fully implemented. So these are recommendations in progress. DILAC recommendations from previous years that have yet to be implemented by the district. So these will be recommendations still to be implemented. And finally, the new DILAC recommendations for program improvement, which we've titled New Recommendations.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Gloria Hernández y yo voy a hablarles sobre las recomendaciones en curso. La primera de ellas es que se monitoree la eficacia del sistema de comunicación recurrente establecido entre el distrito y el DILAC. También que se monitoree el sistema de control y evaluación establecida por el distrito para asegurar que los reglamentos estatales, así como las normas y programas educativos que afectan a los estudiantes que están aprendiendo inglés, se pongan en práctica con eficacia. Número 3, que se monitoree el programa de capacitación profesional y apoyo continuo ofrecido a los maestros en cada grado específicamente, diseñado para reforzar su nueva función como facilitadores de aprendizaje de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés. Número 4, que se monitoree en cada escuela la implementación del sistema de reclasificación para que se reclasifique al máximo de los estudiantes que están aprendiendo inglés, para que de esta manera podamos llegar a clasificar al 100% de esos estudiantes. Número 5, que se monitoreen los esfuerzos del distrito para aumentar las oportunidades que son ofrecidas a los padres que tienen estudiantes aprendices de inglés y que verdaderamente están participando en todas las etapas de planificación y aplicación de los estándares estatales centrales comunes y los estándares estatales del desarrollo del lenguaje de inglés y también en el proceso del LCAP.
Good evening, my name is Gloria Hernandez and I'm going to go over the recommendations in progress. The first is to further strengthen the DILAC's advisory role to the school board for the continuous improvement of programs affecting EL students. We recommend the monitoring of the recursive communication system established between the district and the DILAC. Number 2, to monitor the control and accountability system established by the district to ensure that state regulations and policies and district educational programs for EL students are implemented efficiently. Number 3, monitor the professional development program and continuous support offered to teachers at every grade level, specifically designed to reinforce their new role as facilitators of the learning of EL students. Number 4, monitor the implementation of the reclassification system at each school site to allow the maximum number of EL students to be eligible for reclassification, with the goal of reclassifying 100% of eligible students. Number 5, monitor the district's efforts to increase the opportunities for real EL parent participation at all phases of district planning for and implementation of the Common Core state standards, the state English language development standards, and the LCAP process.
Número 6, que el distrito ofrezca a los padres entrenamientos específicos para que puedan supervisar la aplicación de los planes y políticas que incluyan información sobre derechos y responsabilidades de los padres, elección y nombramiento de los miembros del Consejo de Educación, así como la asistencia a las reuniones del Consejo de Educación y participación en los comentarios del público sobre puntos en el orden del día, funcionamiento de las escuelas, forma en que se desarrollan las políticas y análisis de datos de las escuelas. 7, que se monitoree el número de alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés y que se matriculan y completan con éxito los cursos avanzados de ciencias, tecnología, ingeniería y matemáticas, mejor conocido como STEM. Que se aumente el número de los alumnos para que refleje la proporción de alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés en el Distrito Escolar de Santa Bárbara. Punto número 8, que se monitoree el apoyo financiero a los programas educativos ofrecidos a los niños y niñas en edad preescolar que están aprendiendo inglés para asegurar que tengan los recursos necesarios para el desarrollo del inglés y las destrezas fundamentales de la lectura. Que siga 9, que siga monitoreando el plan que satisfaga completamente las necesidades de aprendices de los estudiantes considerados aprendices de inglés a largo plazo, que llevan años identificados con aprendiendo inglés en el distrito, con metas que sean anuales, medibles, para reducir el número de alumnos aprendices de inglés de largo plazo a un 0%.
Number 6, it is recommended that the district provide specific trainings to parents that will enable them to effectively oversee the implementation of district plans and policies. It is recommended that these trainings include information concerning parents' rights and responsibilities, election and appointment of school board members, attendance to board meetings, parent participation regarding agenda items during the public comment, operation of the schools, how policies are developed, and analysis of school data. Number 7, monitor the number of EL students enrolled and successfully completing advanced STEM courses. It is recommended that this number be increased to reflect the percentage of ELs in the Santa Barbara Unified School District. Number 8, monitor the financial support to educational programs for preschool English learners to ensure that they have the necessary resources for English language development and basic reading skills. Number 9, continue monitoring the plan that fully meets the learning needs of long-term English learners in the district, with measurable annual goals to reduce the number of these long-term English learners to 0%.
Número 10. Todo este año, 8 escuelas del distrito recibieron capacitaciones básicas y o avanzadas de ELAC ofrecidas por United Parents, Padres Unidos, y en 6 de esas escuelas voy a dividirlo en incisos A, B y C. Y me gustaría mencionar que esto durante nuestras casi 10 sesiones o 10 sesiones que tuvimos, usamos 2 de esas reuniones solamente para asegurarnos que estas cosas se tomaran en cuenta. Trabajamos mucho en equipo. El inciso A se recomienda ampliar un entrenamiento de padres en las funciones correctas de ILAC en cada una de las escuelas y aumentar las capacidades de liderazgo de los líderes de los padres en las escuelas para que puedan involucrarse mejor en el proceso de tomas de decisiones, como se pide en el LCAP. Inciso B, para ello se recomienda que el director de involucramiento de padres implemente un programa de capacitación el próximo año escolar, de modo que el 100% de los comités ejecutivos de las escuelas, incluyendo administradores de las escuelas, reciban capacitaciones sobre ILAC. El objetivo será aumentar el liderazgo efectivo de los padres y los administradores a nivel escolar y del distrito. Inciso C. Se recomienda además que este plan de entrenamientos cumpla con los siguientes criterios. Número 1. Basarse en una rúbrica escrita con los objetivos del aprendizaje comunes extraídos del manual de ILAC y cumpliendo con las 4 funciones obligatorias del ILAC. Número 2, que el DILAC esté involucrado en el asesoramiento y guía de los objetivos de aprendizaje para tales entrenamientos y que esta información se comparta con DILAC. Inciso número 3, colaborar con Padres Unidos en la finalización y actualización de la edición 2015 del Manual de Capacitación de ILAC en inglés y en español, y que se distribuya el manual a las escuelas a tiempo para la capacitación de los ILACs, de los administradores escolares también en agosto del 2015. Inciso 4. Se les dará a las escuelas la opción de proporcionar capacitaciones de ILAC básicas y avanzadas a los padres, ya sea por los propios administradores de las escuelas o por medio de un contrato con United Parents, Padres Unidos, que tiene un historial muy bien establecido en proporcionar este tipo de capacitación en las escuelas. Punto número 5, que haya una evaluación de las capacitaciones por parte del proveedor, básicas y avanzadas de ILAC, basadas en las evaluaciones de los padres y que se comparta un informe con el DILAC. Número 6, que el director de involucramiento de padres dé un informe al DILAC en su última reunión en noviembre sobre los entrenamientos que se han dado en las escuelas. Finalmente, el punto número 11, que el distrito siga reforzando la colaboración con los negocios de la comunidad para proveer computadoras donadas y usadas en buena condición que puede dar a los padres que no tienen computadoras en sus casas y que la oficina del director de tecnología provea una coordinación.
The 10th recommendation, during the past year, 8 district schools received basic and/or advanced ILAC trainings, 6 of which were provided by United Parents or Padres Unidos. We thought this recommendation was so important that we used 2 full meetings to discuss it, and we divided it in 3 parts. Part A, it is strongly recommended to expand parent trainings on the proper functions of the ILAC at each of the schools and to increase the leadership capacities of parent leaders in the schools so that they may be better involved in the school decision-making process as called for in the LCAP. B, to that end, it is recommended that the Director of EL and Parent Engagement Programs implements a training program in the coming school year such that 100% of the ILAC executive committees at the school sites, including school administrators, receive ILAC training. The goal will be to increase effective leadership of parents at the site and district levels across the school district. C, it is further recommended that this training plan adhere to the following criteria. First, be based on a written rubric with common learning objectives drawn from the ELAC training manual in compliance with the 4 mandated functions of ELAC. Second, that DLAC be involved in advising on the rubric and the learning objectives for such trainings, and that this information be shared with DLAC. Third, that the Santa Barbara Unified School District collaborate with United Parents or Padres Unidos on the completion of an updated 2015 edition of the ELAC training manual in English and Spanish, and distribute the manual to schools in time for the ELAC training of school administrators in August 2015. Fourth, that school sites be given the choice to provide ELAC basic and advanced parent trainings either by their own school administrators or through a contract with United Parents Padres Unidos that has a well-established record in providing such trainings to school sites. Fifth, that there be an assessment of the ELAC basic and advanced trainings based on parent evaluations, and that the report be shared with DLAC. Sixth, that the Director of EL Services and Parent Engagement give a report to DLAC at its last meeting in November on the status of ELAC trainings given at the schools. And finally, the 11th recommendation, we recommend that the district strengthen its relations with community businesses and agencies to provide donated computers that are used but in good working condition to parents that do not have the computer at home. The IT department could coordinate that.
Buenas noches a todos, mi nombre es Carmen Magallanes y yo voy a hablar de las recomendaciones aún por realizar. Que el distrito provea una mejor coordinación que apoye acceso lingüístico de los padres que hablan español en cada escuela del distrito. Aunque se estableció un sistema para monitorear el cumplimiento de las 4 funciones obligatorias del ILAC en cada escuela según el título 3, en su informe ustedes, hay un pequeño error. En vez de título 3, ese título 1 está en su reporte. Por favor, lo pueden cambiar a título 3. Es correcto, título 3. Gracias. Se recomienda que esta información sea comunicada sistemáticamente con el Consejo Ejecutivo DILAC. Que se extienda el sistema de disciplina, el enfoque restaurador, a todas las escuelas primarias del distrito. Aunque ahora que el distrito tiene la capacidad de traducir anualmente el plan singular para cada escuela, se recomienda que el ILAC de cada escuela utilice el plan traducido en todas sus discusiones durante el año escolar. Que el distrito establezca comités de reclasificación más efectivos con los siguientes componentes. Tengo 3 puntos para compartir. Inciso A. Comités de reclasificación formados por 2 maestros de educación regular, un maestro de educación especial y un administrador escolar en cada una de las escuelas para controlar y supervisar la reclasificación apropiada. Inciso B, que el comité de reclasificación se reúna por lo menos una vez cada trimestre durante el ciclo escolar, que el 100% de los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés y son elegibles para reclasificación según la norma del Consejo sean revisadas anualmente. Inciso C, que los 3 puestos de maestros, mencionamos que antes era solo un puesto, ahora son 3, en el comité de reclasificación recomendamos reciban un estipendio anual acorde con lo que reciben los miembros con credenciales en los equipos para éxito de los alumnos y que dicho estipendio se financie con fondos de título 3, que tiene el distrito, por supuesto. Inciso D, que se elija un padre de estudiante que está aprendiendo inglés para asesorar sin acceso a la información confidencial al comité de reclasificación de cada escuela. Los padres tienen derecho de ser parte de este diálogo y participar en esta importante toma de decisiones. que anualmente el distrito ofrezca un programa de capacitación de ILAC a todos los administradores a nivel escolar, que las escuelas y el distrito extiendan los talleres de tecnología a los padres. Hay una gran necesidad de capacitación en la tecnología, lo que incluye clases de computación en español y con instructores que entiendan la cultura de los padres, teniendo en cuenta que algunos padres tienen problemas de alfabetización y que muchos padres que hablan español no utilizan correo electrónico, ya que carecen de conocimientos básicos sobre cómo funcionan las computadoras. Proveer tutores bilingües en tales clases, talleres para ayudar a los padres a desarrollar habilidades básicas de computación. Los que desarrollan la capacitación deben ser conscientes de la falta de acceso a Internet en muchos de los hogares.
Good evening. My name is Carmen Magallanes, and I'm going to talk about the recommendations still to be implemented. First, that the district provides a better coordination of language access support for Spanish-speaking parents at every school in the district. Second, although a system was established to monitor the compliance with Title III for required functions of the ILAC at each site, and I must make a correction, it says in your report Title I, it should say Title III. It is recommended that this information be communicated in a systematic manner to the DLAC Executive Committee during the school year in order for the DLAC to provide the necessary support to the ILACs that may need it. Third, it is recommended that the restorative approaches discipline system be expanded to all elementary schools in the district. Number 4, now that the district has the ability to translate the single plans for each school annually, it is recommended that each school's ILAC use the translated single plan at all its discussions during the school year. Number 5, we recommend that the district establish more effective reclassification committees with the following 4 components. A, in each school, have a reclassification committee composed of 2 general education teachers, 1 special education teacher, and 1 school administrator to monitor and supervise an adequate reclassification of EL students. B, the reclassification committee meets at least once per quarter during the school year, so 100% of EL students that are eligible for reclassification according to school board policy are reviewed annually by the reclassification committee of their school. C, the teachers occupying the 3 teacher positions in the reclassification committee receive an annual stipend in line with what credentialed members of student success teams receive. That such stipend be paid from Title III district funds. D, an EL parent is selected to advise the reclassification committee of each school without granting him or her access to confidential information. Parents must be part of this dialogue and participate in these important decisions. Number 6, it is recommended that the district annually provide ELAC trainings to all site-based administrators. Number 7, we recommend that the schools and the district expand the number of technology workshops for parents that focus on home-school communication and educational use of said technology. There is a great need for technology training, including computing classes in Spanish. Instructors must understand the parents' culture, be aware that some parents have problems with literacy, and that many Spanish-speaking parents do not use email, as they lack basic computer knowledge. Provide bilingual tutors in those classes or workshops to help parents develop basic computing skills. Whoever develops the training must be aware of the lack of internet access in many of the homes.
Hubo un error en el título, en el de ellos. Buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Olga Mendoza y voy a presentar las nuevas recomendaciones. Número 1. Se recomienda que se lleve a cabo una evaluación de necesidades en todo el distrito basado en las escuelas individuales. 2. Se recomienda que la definición del CDE para los estudiantes que están aprendiendo inglés a largo plazo sea adoptada por el distrito y que se establezca un mecanismo para medir anualmente el número de estudiantes en esta categoría. Número 3. Se recomienda que el distrito haga una revisión del plan general para los alumnos que están aprendiendo inglés que refleje los estatutos federales y estatales actuales y las políticas y prácticas actuales del distrito.
Good evening. My name is Olga Mendoza, and I'm going to talk about the new recommendations. The first is to conduct a district-wide needs assessment on a school-by-school basis. Number 2, it is recommended that the district adopt the CDE definition for long-term English learners, and that it establishes a mechanism to measure the number of students in this category on an annual basis. And number 3, it is recommended that the district make a review of the master plan for English learners that reflects the current federal and state regulations and policies and current practices of the district.
Con estas tres últimas recomendaciones nuevas terminamos nuestra presentación y queremos darle muchas gracias por este espacio, pero también quiero darle muchas gracias a todos los padres que están aquí presentes de habla hispana que vinieron a apoyarnos y que están interesados en trabajar con nosotros en las recomendaciones. Ustedes son un gran apoyo y sin todo el apoyo de ustedes no hubiéramos podido hacer esto. Así que muchísimas gracias por estar hasta aquí tan tarde. Se los agradezco mucho.
With these last 3 new recommendations, we end our DLAC report. And I also want to thank all of you for listening to this, but I also want to give a special thank to all the Spanish-speaking parents that came and supported us, and for the interest that you've had in the work that the DLAC committee has been doing, because without all of your support, we wouldn't have been able to do this. Thank you.
Y bueno, no quiero preguntar esta pregunta, pero ¿hay alguna pregunta?
So I don't really want to say this, but are there any questions?
We have one public comment.
Mario Rodriguez.
I was just going to read something if that was okay.
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
No questions?
Stand by for questions. We may have some.
Oh, okay.
Members of the school board and public, good evening. My name is Mario Rodriguez. I'm a member of our community, and while I no longer have any children in the schools, I have been a parent in this school district. I come to you in support of this important parent education program. It has made a huge difference in the lives of many parents in our school district. It is a program that is evidence-based and that has proven itself to work in raising students' achievements. In the past 8 years, close to 2,000 parents have taken this class. This program is called Parents Project. From my own personal experience, I can say this class works. It changes lives by strengthening the parent-child relationship in such a way that the conditions are set at home for a positive learning in school. One of the most important statewide LCFF priorities is the parent involvement, and this is stated in the DLAC recommendations. This school district needs to make sure that the school principal have up-to-date information about each of the parents' education program available to their schools, to understand their focus, how they differ from one another, and what do their evaluations tell us about moving the needle on students' achievements, such an inclusive process is a part of our cultural proficiency. And when you do that, please make sure that the parents' project is in the mix and that you read its comprehensive parent-based evaluation report that was distributed to the school district early in 2014. This report clearly shows that the class, along with the Padres Adelante classes, have been positively impacting student achievements. So please help our schools move towards effective parent engagement practices across the school district by taking this recommendation into consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Board members, Ms. Parker?
Thank you. It was a professional and really helpful presentation, as usual. I'm getting very used to these types of DLAC presentations that really set the bar and provide useful information for us. But I think one question I have is, this was the first year where we had a Director of English Learner Services and Parent Engagement. And so it's the first year that the DLAC has experienced that as sort of part of the reporting process and support for the reporting process and coming, sort of participating in the LCAP process. And not because I know that Dr. Ramirez is fantastic, and I'm sure that you had a great experience with him, but sort of in general, do you feel like that's enough support for the DLAC? Was it really helpful for the DLAC to have that integration?
Voy a contestar en español. Sí, definitivamente. Fue una gran experiencia. Tuvimos un increíble apoyo de él. La verdad, aprendimos mucho. Él nos educó en muchas cosas que nosotros no sabíamos. Eso hizo más fácil el trabajo.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely it helped a lot. He really educated us in many things that we didn't know about, and that made our work much easier.
Y a mí me gustaría también algo agregar junto con Maribel. Yo pienso que lo que fue el primer año, pero lo que siento que fue un éxito muy grande, es que es una persona que es latina, es una persona que habla español, es una persona que también trabajó con nuestras familias de bajos recursos. Entonces yo pienso que si no hubiéramos tenido una persona que nos comprendiera a nosotros como padres y que también representara a él una de las familias latinas, yo pienso que eso fue la clave para que esto haya sido un éxito, y esperamos que con la nueva doctora Mora, que va a tomar el lugar, ahí va a trabajar con nosotros, que siga enforzando eso de tal manera.
Thanks.
Yeah, I also wanted to add that a key component of the success and all the help that Dr. Ramirez was able to provide is the fact that he's Latino, he speaks Spanish, and he is also a member of our kind of families. So we are very excited now. Without all those components, probably we don't think it would have been so effective. And we are very excited now that Dr. Mora is going to take his position, and we are going to work with her, and we are sure that she will be able to continue to help us.
Thank you.
Dr. Paz? Oh.
I had one question. In the last new set of recommendations, and you talked about a needs assessment, what does that entail? What are you looking for?
Okay, say that again, please. Which one was?
In the new set of recommendations,
The new set?
you have requested a needs assessment. I'm wondering, what does that entail? What are you looking for?
Okay. Okay. Cada escuela tiene sus propias necesidades. So no podemos hacer todo igual, porque cada escuela tiene diferentes necesidades, diferentes niños aprendiendo inglés, necesitan diferentes apoyos, diferentes recursos, diferentes programas. Eso es lo que buscamos, que cada escuela tenga definido cuáles son las necesidades de ella. Washington no va a tener la misma necesidad de McKinley, entonces no se puede hacer ese comparativo. Eso es en realidad lo que nosotros buscamos.
Each school has its own needs, so we cannot use a cookie cutter approach. Washington is or EL students at Washington are not going to have the same needs as EL students at McKinley. So what we are referring to is that we follow that approach of having each school have decide on what their needs are.
Quisiera también llamar al señor Salgureña, él es parte de estas recomendaciones, entonces quiere dar un punto de vista y puede pasar.
I would just like to call attention to Sure.
Yes, I would just like to call attention to the front page of your report, and on item number 2, and that's a code of California Code of Regulations. It's a requirement, it's a mandate from the state of California that there be a conducting of a district-wide needs assessment on a school-by-school basis, and we're referring to English learners, so the needs assessment of English learners and polling the parents of English learners is a very important step that schools are required, to conduct, and so that's what it's referring to right there as part of the CCRs.
Ms. Limon?
Thank you. So I want to thank everyone. Quiero agradecerles por estar aquí, por todo su trabajo, porque claramente veo que pusieron muchas horas, mucho esfuerzo en este reporte. Así que gracias. The one thing I wanted to also mention is that I thought of you, Mr. Heron. Computers at home in the family came up, and I know that Mr. Heron has been very involved with computers for families, and so I wanted to make the connection because I think that perhaps a direct communication between our DLAC and maybe someone from Computers for Families would be good, just because I was like, wait, Mr. Heron is a great connection. So I wanted to bring that to both of your attentions and hoping that something can come out of there, because that seems like a quick one that could even yield results as soon as like this fall or something of the sort. So I wanted to make that connection. And again, thank you all for being here and for this really I think detailed report. It's probably one of the more detailed ones that I've heard in the last few years. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Limon. I've had the pleasure of witnessing some of the events and ceremonies this past year, and I see the hard work that goes into those and the satisfaction that all of you show at those events. It's very important, and this whole report's very important. I was going to mention that, for the last 17 years, I've been very active in a program where we've given out over 10,000 computers to families. And so I know firsthand what's involved in collecting computers, refurbishing computers, and then getting them out to families, and then training families on how to use them. Now, we guarantee that every 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade families in the school district will have a computer if they need one. And through Cox, we've had a very inexpensive internet connection fee available to parents. But I can tell you, when you say that the IT department could coordinate, we have a full-time person who refurbishes them. We have the Boys Camp who refurbishes them. We have a full-time person who distributes and trains. That's 2 full-time people, and that's for 600 computers. I don't know by this if you're talking about K through 12 families who need a computer. That is far greater than even the 600 we give out every year, and it becomes a pretty monumental expense and effort to do that. So I just want to be realistic on number 11, that that's major. It's only 4 lines on this one page, 4 lines, but it's a major item that has not been accomplished. and recommended. So I just want you to be aware that we tried really hard to get out computers, so if you have a fourth, fifth, or sixth grade family who needs a computer, we can take care of that, and we do it every year, so by school, every school. And now, we have undergone a program where students are beginning to receive iPads, so that also is going to help fit this need. So thank you very much.
President Hain, Board, I just wanted to make a comment about that because in my mid-year report to DLAC, we did cite the partnership that we have with the Computers for Families. To date, there have been 531 computers given to families in our district over the past 2 years, and we have many, if not all, of our elementary schools participating. So that is something, it's a partnership that we want to make stronger with our DLAC, but it has been something that that we have mentioned. So we will look to strengthen that partnership moving forward.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? No? Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming. And you are free to leave. You don't have to stay. Okay. Okay, we will go on board to item H2, a report on student transportation of America adherence to Santa Barbara Unified School District Board policies related to transportation.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We have Ms. Jate, Assistant Superintendent for Business Services, who is responsible for our student transportation.
Good evening, Board. A couple of board meetings ago, you asked me to confirm that Student Transportation of America is following our board policies and doing what they're expected to do. So I had Angela Williams, who is, you want me to wait?
Yeah, wait for a minute.
Okay. I'm used to having people walk out on minutes.
We walk out on you. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
So I asked Angela Williams, who is the general manager in our area for Students of Transportation of America. And so she and her co-worker read through all of our board policies and wrote a memo, as you have in front of your on your table, and she had all the expectations that I had of STA, and so I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions? Ms. Parker?
Well, I actually don't really have any questions. Just thank you for the memo, really, and it made it clear that they are really aligned with the things that we have, and maybe some of my other board members have questions, but I appreciated the update.
One thing that she didn't really emphasize is the drills that they have annually, and I wanted to reiterate that they do have drills annually with the kids at the sites.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jate.
Under H3, first reading of Exhibit 5144, disciplinary guidelines.
Would ask Mr. Terena, who I think is going to tag team with our new assistant superintendent. This started with Mitch when he was doing this.
So we had 4 meetings with our disciplinary guideline committee, and unfortunately I wasn't inspiring enough to really get a hold of that committee. The first 2 meetings were really good. We had parents and students involved. The last 2 meetings we did not. The parent component, they didn't show up, nor did the students. So what we recommended, it was basically 4 or 5 administrators the last 3 meetings, or last 2 meetings we had. What they felt comfortable with going forward in regards to our discipline guideline was to look at how we are going to integrate restorative approaches in everything except for our top 5, and our top 5 offenses being those that are deemed as what we call shall. So if these do occur and it's been vetted that the student did violate, that he shall be recommended for an expulsion. Beyond that, we wanted to at least start to integrate restorative approaches so that the school sites and administrators have the option by which to look at even some of our, what we can really consider now more of our serious crimes, can have the option to look at a restorative approach versus a suspension. And we actually saw part of that, and I think Ms. Wagonette can attest to some of the information that we have regarding that. be glad to take any questions.
Ms. Parker?
I think my first suggestion is just in the language. I mean, when you look at it, you see that it's a sort of a boilerplate phrase that gets stuck on a number of the offenses and what happens with subsequent offenses. And my concern with the way it's currently worded is that it so broadens things out, especially with other means of correction as kind of a separate thing, that my first suggestion is that we change that to may result in a restorative approach, RA conference, that leads to other means of correction. Because I don't want us to have other means of correction without there being an RA conference. I want it to be really clear that if there's a change, it's because we're using restorative approaches, and that we're not going to have administrators go directly to one of these other, you list it nicely down at the end. And so I would suggest that be amended in that way. My other concern is that there are some that, and maybe other board members have some thoughts on this, where even for the first offense, I do wonder if it's appropriate to go to restorative approaches. And I know one example that popped out to me was fire setting. Are there other dangerous ones where certainly counseling may be needed, but is it appropriate to start with restorative approaches? That's a question. And then also, for some of them that went on to second and third offenses where you could still have a restorative approaches alternative. If it's the second or the third time that you're doing sexual harassment, is it really appropriate for it still to be restorative approaches? And that's something that, I really rely on administrator feedback on that. But I hope, this is a first reading of it, I hope that it goes back to some further discussion on that, and I'm curious to hear what my fellow board members have to say. Just because some of them seem egregious enough that maybe you would do it the first time, but maybe not a second time, and maybe certainly not a third time. So that's just a question mark that I have out there.
Look, if I could respond, I think you bring up some good points, and that one being that perhaps adding an "and" in there, because certainly using your example of the fire starting would be an example of this happens and a restorative approach takes place. And that's very, and certainly when looking at this, this is the beginning of a process that allows us to take what I think is already organically starting to happen and formalize it and proceduralize it, but beyond that also gives administrators something that I think many of us have been looking for, which is a flexibility and to do student-centered decision-making in these things. But I think you do bring up good points about not always just jumping to the restorative or using just the restorative.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I could see that, maybe adding a language, especially in second and third, where it says, you're going to be suspended 5 days, but you may also go through a restorative approach.
Exactly.
Something like that.
Dr. Paz?
So I'm assuming at this point in time that all of our administrators who deal with discipline have been trained in restorative approaches?
That's correct.
So we don't have anyone at this point in time who has not gone to
elementary.
We have brand new administrators that haven't yet.
So the only thing I wonder is that point, that if we have some administrators, we're going to put something in place, they haven't been trained, so...
They'll be trained before the first day of school.
Okay.
It's already in our agenda for our...
Just want to be clear that we're not setting in motion something that we cannot live with, so, okay, we're good with that.
Ms. Limon?
So I like the idea of flexibility, because it's, when you gave the example of fire setting, I thought back like garbage can fires, we're going to go, that was my first thought of fires, and not like someone trying to burn the school down. And so I think for me, I would like some flexibility, only because I don't necessarily know what the situation is. And as bad as it sounds, a garbage can fire, I guess, is not really that bad for me because it used to happen all the time. I know it did. People were just like, yeah. So I don't know. It's not. That sounds bad, didn't it? You're all looking at me, but I don't know. I think that flexibility would be good, as opposed to just jumping right away to a 5-day versus a 3-day or something else. No, I did not confess to setting fires. I want to be very clear. I've never set a fire. But I kind of remember high school. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I remember people lighting garbage cans on fire.
Miss Limon never saw the inside of a administrator's office.
Well, I didn't say that, but I can tell you that I never started a fire at any of our schools or elsewhere.
Thank you for that clarification. We were questioning you. Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
No, I would echo the same comments that my fellow board members. The flexibility, I think, is really important. Just wanted to make sure we were all on the same page in terms of that, but yeah.
I think our next steps would be we'll bring it back to all of our administrators at charge, and Ms. Wagner can lead them through a language conversation, and we'll bring it back in August with the final recommendation from our administrative team.
And then also that there's going to be a continual round of the Discipline Guidance Committee.
Right.
Because we need to start looking at developmentally certain things, as we've seen, wouldn't happen. Like usually K through 3, you wouldn't have something called sexual harassment. There would be maybe some harassment, but usually young people like that aren't sexualized or sexual beings yet, so the intent is different. So that's the hope, is that we start to expand and really start to specialize in how we approach all of our developmental ages of students, K through 3, 4 through 6, and then 6 through 12.
Will you bring in more parents and more students to replace the ones?
I'm sure Ms. Wagner has much more charm, and so she'll be able to do that.
Okay, it's important.
Yes.
And I want to say, I just want to add that I think item number 7 and the bullet points, that clarification is actually very good. And I think it's something that also the public has been looking for as far as what is restorative approaches tangibly mean. And so I think that, oh, sorry, not that item, the definitions in the notes, number 7, all those details, A through I, are really good.
Yes.
Additions, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now go to first reading of Administrative Regulations 6146.11, alternative credits toward graduation.
Dr. Drotti.
Good evening, Governing Board, President Herron. For students attending community college as special part-time students, credit shall be at a level jointly determined by the Board of Education and the Community Colleges Governing Board. Presented before you are 2 documents that we want to consider as we develop the equivalency between Santa Barbara City College and Santa Barbara Unified School District. Here we have Administrative Regulations 6146.11. And also we have another document you have in your hand. Mr. You can scroll to the next document. Is the course equivalence recommendations that the district and Santa Barbara City College came up with. And before I leave it up for questions, I want to kind of talk about the process by which we used to come up with this equivalence document. We met with the administrative team of each high school with their head counselors, and myself met with the City College representatives, and we combed through their course catalog, City College's course catalog, as well as our course catalog, and we matched the courses. And so we used basically the standards that we use to teach these courses and ensured that it is actually the same coursework that City College is teaching. In that process, we identified what will be equivalent to what a semester credit would be for our district and what a year's worth of credit will be. And so as a result, this is how we came up with this document. With that said, I'll leave it up to questions.
Ms. Limon?
I just have a general question. Who is we exactly?
I'm sorry. We,
Yeah, like you said we came up with, who exactly was we? Like is it faculty at UCSB as well, or deans? I'm just curious. Or
it was a dean of instruction, one of the deans of instruction,
dean of
at
instruction
City
at
College.
City College.
Yes, so they sent, their president sent her as a representative for everyone else. And the other part of the we is the district. Yeah.
Ms. Parker?
I just have a specific question on the world languages piece, and I see that we've put up the ones here that we also teach.
Yes.
But we do give students world language credit for Japanese, Italian, other classes that they take only at City College that we don't also teach. And so I want to be clear, because it then there's this electives thing, all other SBC courses that are 3 units and above. I mean, we would give the same number of units for other world languages. At least we have been doing that. And so I just want to be sure that is clear.
Yes, so this is what was fascinating about the conversation. The course equivalent sheet that you had prior to this was somewhat confusing.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, there was some lack of consistency, in which by lack of consistency between the schools of why certain credits were giving a certain amount of points. So we needed to create a formula, and when we followed the administrative regulations, guidelines to help us with make those decisions. So if you look at administrative guidelines and say page number 2. Under concurrent enrollment in an outside accredited school. Maybe if you scroll down. So if you, let's read that statement right under that concurrent enrollment in an outside accredited school. It says a student who is regularly enrolled in attendance at a high school shall receive credit towards high school graduation for the studies successfully completed at an outside accredited school if the instruction entails fields and subjects included in the high school's course of study and curricula. The student must be enrolled in the minimum of those points. So with that guidelines, the committee of administrators felt that if we don't have any kind of specific rules that suggest us accepting credits for courses that are not aligned with our course list, that will mean that we can really get credit for any course that exists out there. There was nothing specific to say that somebody offering a course that's not aligned with ours that we get credit for. So we need to follow some kind of guidelines, and we went to that.
So to clarify, Dr. Drotti, what you're saying now is that students who decide, for example, that they're going to take Japanese or Italian to fulfill their foreign language requirement, that they'll need to sort of go through the process that's listed on the bottom of page 2 of 3?
Yes.
Is there, I mean...
Or we adopt a Japanese course in our course catalog. Whether we teach it or not, if it's in our books, we can at least say that it's a course that we're teaching at our school.
Okay, well, I mean, it's certainly something that I anticipate the graduation committee having a discussion about, because one way or another we need to make sure that our students are getting the equivalent credit
Absolutely.
for the other languages that they choose to take.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So Mandarin Chinese, for example, is a subject that we teach, so that's a part of it. If City College was to teach Mandarin Chinese, we would create their equivalence. But the same can go if they offer courses out there that we're not teaching Swahili, and we can certainly take that curriculum and make it a part of our curriculum, so that we can get that equivalence, establish that equivalence.
Ms. Eidelson?
Hi. I have quite a few questions. So looking at this list, and I want the one that has the equivalency guide.
Yes.
So on the English, one question I have is English 110, currently English 110 and 111 satisfy 1 year.
Yes.
And here we're introducing English 100 to that. And I'm wondering, since, so currently English 12, AP English, and English 110, 111 are all equivalent. Now we're saying you have to take English, unless I'm reading this wrong, English 100 and English 110 or 111 to accomplish that requirement.
Yeah, so let me just kind of read it, and that'll address your question. So what that document is saying is for us to get 10 credits of English 12, we must take English 100 and English 110 or 111.
But so many students take 110 and 111
Yeah, so
for their senior year.
110, so they would take, so this is where the confusion, as I mentioned, there was some confusion. In order to establish equivalence, we actually looked at the actual course, the standards that are being taught. And what you're describing is the practices of old, and it didn't match the standards that we were teaching.
So you're suggesting that a student would need to go back and take English?
No. So yes. Obviously, we were not going to. We would hold schools harmless in this situation. So the counselors and administrators understand that students that have made plans or have really executed this, we look to those, but case by case, on a case by case basis. So if you're a senior, junior, for example, that already made plans based on the old criteria, we were going to hold you hold harmless.
Well, and also many of the, I know Santa Barbara High dual enrollment has English 110 taught on campus, but I don't believe that they have English 100. So students, that's my understanding. But anyway, there's a lot of other things. Another one would be on the health. Here we say Health 101 qualifies. I'm curious whether Health 102, which is a personal health for women course, which I believe meets the state standard for health, if a student takes that. Was that checked into?
Yeah, we checked through we went through the old equivalence document you were probably referring to, and went through all those courses and looked at the objectives of the course, the standards that are being taught in the course, and we matched it with what they're offering, and we didn't find equivalence there for that one.
Okay, even though City College's course, I believe, equates to the grad requirement for the high school? The Health 102.
The 102 you're referring, what I'm saying is it didn't match.
It didn't match,
It didn't
okay.
match. Yes.
And then another one, Bio 100 with the lab, that could be just bio because it already has a lab built into it. And then Bio 120, as it is, includes the lab.
Yes.
So maybe that.
So yes. So those either one of those would match our biology course.
Okay. And then Chemistry 101 with lab could just be called Chem 101 because it already also includes the lab within the course.
Yes.
And then a question on Math 117. Currently, you're showing it as 5, and is the
because
AP Stat? So it's Math 117 is City College statistics. Is AP Statistics? Is that a 1 year? Is that showing as a 1 year or a semester class?
So statistics in our current system show is a semester course.
Okay.
So our students get 5 credits for it. Okay. So when they take the 117,
it's equivalent.
It's equivalent
to 5. Okay. Yes. So far, that's what I saw.
Yeah.
Okay, and also I think you may want to speak to, by making this change, it sets up that the City College dual enrollment courses become a higher credit than your AP courses and your AB courses. Correct? I mean, higher in terms of how they set up the student's transcript in ranking and, say, in applying to private schools.
Well, the amount of credits we assign should be the same. A year's worth of curriculum is a year's worth of curriculum. You'll get 10 credits for it. So the biggest thing we looked at was, are the courses at City College a year's worth of curriculum in our institution? And if the answer was yes, then we'll give them 10 credits. If City College's credits was half of what our course is, then we would give it 5 credits.
Okay.
So in an AP course, let's say AP Comp. AP Comp is a year's worth of credit, a year's worth of instruction at our district, so you'll get 10 credits. An equivalent course at, say, City College, then we will find an equivalence that's actually a year's worth of that, of the same curriculum.
Okay, so then you're saying AP courses will now get 10 credits also?
Yes. The credits have always been there, but in terms of, are you talking about in terms of weighted grades, or?
Right. Well, on your transcript, it's going to say 10 credits. Or you're saying units here, which probably should be changed to credits.
Yes. If that's confusing, that should be credits then. So,
right.
So, but in terms of AP weighted grades, that has to do with if a student has a 3.0 in biology.
Right. No, I'm not talking about the weighted grade. I'm talking about the credits.
Okay.
So
this is so if that could be confusing. Those numbers to the right are our units, not necessarily City College units. I did not put City College's units here because we're not concerned about those because we don't calculate that into our system.
So those, instead of that word being units, it should be credits.
Credits, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I'm saying, looking at a student's transcript, the only time you're going to see a 10 credits is when it's a City College dual enrollment course, correct? Or will you see it when it's an AP course?
Yeah, you'll see it.
You see it.
World history, 10 credits.
Okay, but that's new. That's changed?
No, that's the way it's always been.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
5 per semester.
Okay. Oh, 5 per
semester.
Okay, got
yes.
it.
Yes.
I have a question on economics. It looks like there's 2 classes there, but 5 units. Are they each half a year classes? And you take both, you get 10 units, or?
Econ is only a 1 semester.
It's a 1 semester course.
System.
Yeah. So in a normal econ class, you have micro and macro. So so we take econ in our system in 1 semester, and in that 1 semester we teach macro and micro.
Okay, that's.
So unless you're an AP econ, which is 1 semester of micro, 1 semester of macro.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hearn?
Yes, Mr.
So
Moore.
I just have a timeline question. So is this coming back to us to approve before the fall? Is that the goal? Is this something that's going to go to the graduation requirement committee at all?
Yeah. So I need to bring back for your approval, and then I need to then take this to City College for them to for their process to approve it, and then we'll be good.
And is there a timeline for that? Like, do you need it before the fall?
As soon as possible.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Parker?
Going back to that English 100 piece, I would say the majority of students, you have to take an English placement test to take English at City College.
Yes.
And those students place into English 110, and so they can't take English 100. And so I understand this, that English 100 is the equivalent of some level of English 12 in our schools.
Yeah.
But the reality is that a lot of students wouldn't be able to take English 100 and should have credit for English 110 and English 111 because it's above grade level, essentially.
Yeah.
But that happens, there will be, that's going to hit a lot of kids, what's there for English 12.
Yeah.
But there will be outliers in everything in terms of we will have that student that's ready for differential equations. We will
Yes.
have that student that's ready taking much more advanced chemistry or physics.
Yes.
And so I want to be sure, the AR totally allows us to give them credit for math or for science or for foreign language for these things. And so if we are doing this and sort of creating this equivalency, that we can currently have a process developed so that we are ready by the fall for students that are taking classes for a credit, to fulfill a requirement, and that it just doesn't fit in with this pattern, that it doesn't end up in that one where it says, other electives, 3 units.
Okay.
So I just want to be sure that that's done at the same time.
So just for my clarity, what we're saying is, in a situation in which we have, say, differential equations, if is obviously integration, calculus integration. So if that student is successful taking that at City College, we will subsume that they took our calculus differentiation already then.
Or that they've gotten the math credits that they need for graduation that are, the appropriate number of credits.
This has been traditionally the principals, and it says in the AR, have the opportunity to make those kinds of decisions. And I can just speak from my own experience that we always just took the City College. If it was a one-semester class, we gave them 5 credits. If it was a full-year-long class, we gave them 10.
Yes.
It's kind of how we did it.
Yeah, but it doesn't, there are some things that it wouldn't have been true because, like, for example, foreign language, one semester has counted for a year, and that's just kind of been the way it's been. I just want to be sure that we don't blindside anybody, or that we just don't have the process in place, because that's what ends up happening. Oh, we'll do it, but we don't have the process, and so things get stymied.
So in this process, the central question that came up in our meetings was that what is to stop us from accepting any course for any credit? So somebody goes to take a math something. Math X at City College and says, I want that to count as Algebra 2. I mean, I guess the question becomes, what stops us from accepting that as Algebra 2 if it doesn't match Algebra 2 concepts? And so with that, we need to have some kind of guidance on us having that in place, so that way as students take courses, that they actually fit within what our graduation requirements are. So outside of having that rule, it would be very difficult to hold still on not accepting any credit from any course anybody wants to argue. So that was the premise behind that, but I do understand your point, Mrs. Parker. I think the way we address those are, like Dr. Cass said, in an individual basis. In the case where there's a course that a student's taking, we know that's very high level. And if Japanese, for example, we know that exists at City College. If we don't have it in our course catalog, I think we can definitely make preparations for that too.
But I mean, just to be clear, I don't think that we have anything that spells out that you must take, Math 1, you must take Math 2. Yeah. We require that students progress. The only thing that I know that they have to take is essentially Algebra 1, which I don't even, that doesn't exactly exist anymore.
Well, we looked closely at our board policy and our AR, and it's consistently enough flexible that it fits the math adoption that the board made.
Good.
I think one of the issues really is that these are not, we're not talking about hundreds of students, and they will be individual decisions, and we'll always default on to support the student in getting towards graduation. But one of the things that this takes care of is what Dr. Drotti mentioned at the very beginning, and that was the previous system we had allowed for, in fact, encouraged some creativity in credit awarding amongst our high schools. And that caused a whole bunch of other issues for us.
Yes. Mr. Adelson?
2 more points. One is on the second page of the City College's high school dual enrollment approval form. It specifically says high school students cannot take SBCC English 100, and then and then it also says they cannot take SBCC Math 100. So
where's that?
No, that's not on yours. It's on the City. I'll send you the link.
Oh yeah.
It's on the dual enrollment form at City College.
Okay.
So if that's going to go in there, it's going to need to change that.
So in our conversation with City College, I assumed that they knew these rules. So if you guys are okay with this, I've got to go back with them to make sure that things are fine with them. Because
their paperwork, right. And then the other question, none of this addresses visual and performing arts courses, which they have high-level VPA courses, and that is also one of our graduation requirements, so to speak. So is that been talked about, or?
That part wasn't brought up. We went off of the old course equivalence document and used that as a point of discussion, and those courses didn't come to fruition because no one talked about those. So
we can look at them though.
We can look at them though.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids are taking a variety of VPA courses, and they're wonderful. So okay, thank you.
Good.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dr.
Should we bring this back for?
Yeah, we got a little work to do, and we'll bring it
Okay.
back August 11th.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, coming events. I don't think we have many.
Summer.
Summer. Future agenda items, anybody? Thank you, Dr. Cash and staff for knocking some off this week.
Absolutely, that's our job.
The list will be shorter the next time I send it to you guys. If nothing else, let's close the meeting.